Hey coaches, Jason here from Rugby Fit. So hope you're well. So what I've decided to do over the next couple of weeks is just to do some educational videos for you guys, just revolving around all aspects of coaching itself. So what I'm going to do is you're going to sit back and watch the slides, watch the video. You don't have to worry about writing anything down yet. I will make the slides available to you, so you can just go and download them and then just make notes on the slides themselves. You can keep that in a little folder and build up a little coaching library. So what I'll do is at the end of the video, I'll tell you how you can actually get access to the slides and you can go and download it. Right, but what we're going to do firstly is just planning your actual rugby warm-up. So today's agenda is just basically going to go over what is the purpose of a warm-up, what elements are there to a warm-up, how to structure your warm-up, and how to make your warm-up better. Right. So if we start with the purpose, we just got to keep in mind that obviously there are different warm-ups for different scenarios. So you get different types of training sessions. You also get matches. You might have a non-contact training session where we're just doing skills. It might be a contact training session where we're practicing collisions. It might just be a recovery session, or like I said, it might be a match. So every warm-up is going to be slightly different. Now the purpose of a warm-up is basically just to get the body physically ready for what's to come, right? So if you're just going to be running and doing handling drills, it's not really necessary to get the body, ready for impact. Whereas obviously the opposite applies to if you are going to be making contact. We need to really make sure that the body's sufficiently warmed up, stretched and mobilized in order to absorb all that shock from contact. The second purpose of a warm-up is basically just to reinforce any basic movement patterns. Right, so that can be just like normal passing, something that's completely neglected. People just assume that players can pass and can pass off both hands. So basically just using the warm-up just to reinforce basic movement patterns. So whether that be passing, changing of direction, rolling on the ground, just basic things that we take for granted. So just basic movement patterns and just reinforcing that. So we reinforce that so that when it happens in the game that players don't even have to think about it. It's been reinforced so many times that it's just a natural thing that happens, rolling and popping or drawing and passing, right? The third thing to me that's important for warm-up is basically to get the players focused on what's to come, right? So you're going to be getting them physically ready, going through all the movement patterns, but you also want to make sure that they know what is coming in the session, right? So they can start getting mentally focused for that. So when we're doing a little warm-up drill, okay, they know they're doing this warm-up drill because later in the session they're going to use that skill that they've practiced in a certain scenario, right? Your elements within your warm-up itself, so like I said, we want to make sure the body, the mind, the senses, the reactions, and your player's skills are all primed for what's to come in the session, right? So the actual elements within a warm-up, firstly, your cardiovascular. So you want to make sure that the guys are breathing heavier, that the heart's pumping. It's no good going into a session. We're going to be doing a high intensity session and just from the go try and get them going at high intensity. The body takes time to adapt, right? So what you want to do is basically just spend a couple of minutes. I would normally say about 10 to 15 minutes. We were just getting the heart rate up and down, and then your body will be primed to then do whatever you ask of it. So like I said, don't just go into a session, have a little 2-3 minute warm up and now expect the body to be able to perform at a high intensity, right? You want to build up the intensity within the warm up itself so that when we do hit the actual training, the bulk of the training session, that the body's primed for that. The second thing you want to basically concentrate on is dynamic flexibility and mobility. So you don't really want to be doing any static stretches. Okay, it's not very beneficial to the body to do static stretches. Like I said, what you want to do is get the body primed cardiovascularly, get the body pumping blood. That blood's going to go to the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons. Okay, now your body's ready to go through a dynamic flexibility routine and a mobility routine. So again, this is going to be dependent on what you're doing within the session. So if you're only going to be doing running work, okay, it's not really necessary to spend 10 minutes warming up the shoulders and the neck and stuff like that. So again, you choose The type of things you're going to do is going to be based on the session itself. And like I said, really important when we go through dynamic flexibility and mobility stuff, that we try and make it game specific. So if you're going to be doing stuff where you're going to be rolling around on the ground, you want to do little mobility and flexibility exercises that's going to simulate getting the body into that position that they'll probably get into when they're doing the actual drill. The next thing that's important, or your element within your training session itself, is skill and movement pattern drills. Okay, so like I said, you want to get the heart going, you want to make sure they're nice and flexible and mobile, so we're going to try and limit injuries. Okay, and then we just go through our basic movement patterns and skills, like I said, passing, rolling, falling, getting up, things like that. All right, the structure of the session or the warm-up itself, okay, the length of the warm-up is going to be completely dependent, like I said again, on what the purpose of the session is. If it is just going to be a simple skill session, okay, we can spend maybe 10-15 minutes just warming up the muscles, a few little movement patterns, and then we go into the session. As opposed to if you are doing a warm-up for a match, okay, that's going to be a little bit longer, so that can last half an hour to 45 minutes. Right, you can also change the order, okay, of the elements. Okay, so we always want to make sure that we do a little bit of cardio first, and then we can interchange between mobility, skill. So you can manipulate the elements itself. Now, generally, what we like doing is, whether it be an actual session, okay, or a match, the guys will have a itinerary of what the session is going to be. They will know where they have any imbalances or injuries or things that need special attention. So if we're starting the session at 6, they'll go out maybe 10-15 minutes beforehand, and they'll do all the individual stuff. They'll warm up a little bit. If they know they've got a little niggling hip flexor, okay, they'll go out and they'll make sure that they individually isolate things that they are weak at or that they need work on. Right, the next thing we'll do, then we'll get the team together. Right, we'll explain what's happening through the session. We'll do our basic movement patterns, bit of cardio work, so the guys stick together, do that together. We'll then go into pairs. Okay, so this is where we'll do more. If we're going to be doing a contact session, we'll be doing forms of grappling, rolling on the ground, working in pairs. It could be evasion stuff, so just jogging towards your partner, a little handoff or a little step, right? And then we'll go into group work. So if this is just a training session, we could have multiple groups. One group would maybe just be doing handling stuff. Another group could be doing evasion stuff. Another group could be doing defensive stuff. And maybe just for 2, 3 to 5 minutes, just working in that group, and then we just keep rotating the groups. And once they've all gone through the groups, then we're going to the training session. With regards to a match day, again, the guys will go out, do their individual stuff. We'll get together as a team, discuss certain aspects of what we're going to do during the training session and why we're doing it, and how we're going to implement that within the game. Again, they'll do some pair stuff where we're just doing some physical contact type of stuff. We'll then again split into groups. What the guys will do then is they'll then split into their units. So the forwards will go do a couple of lineouts, couple of scrums, couple of mauls. The backs will go do some evasion stuff, run through a couple of moves, right? And then we'll bring them all together again at the end, where we'll just run them through a little team run. Important, especially if it is a match day, you want to keep the intensity so high, but not so high that they've had a high intensity workout for 45 minutes and then you expect them to play a game. So it's important that you vary that intensity. But when we go into the change room to go do our last prep, right, that we get the heart rate up a little bit, and that when we do come out to actually start the game, that we haven't dropped the heart rate right back down again, and then we spend another 5-10 minutes trying to get the heart rate up. So I like the guys still having a fairly high-ish heart rate when they go in to do their last little putting on their jerseys and stuff like that, so that when they come out, the heart rate will obviously have dropped a little bit, but it will still be high enough that they don't have to completely adapt all over again and get the heart in that going. Right, the next thing is, when it comes to your warm-ups, is making it better. So at the end of the day, what you want to have is you want to have an overall structure. Okay, so what I mean by that is the guys know that, so like from the previous slide, that they come in, they do the individual work, they know that we're then going to get together as a team, do some cardio stuff, they know they're going to work in pairs, and then they know they're going to do their group stuff. So that could be your overall structure, right? But we also want to make sure that we change it up a little bit, okay? And the reason is we don't want to make them get stale and just going through the motions. So what we can do is we can, those elements themselves, the group stuff, the pair stuff, the team stuff, we can swap those around. And also within those elements itself, you can change up the drills. So if we now getting together in groups to do handling drills, we want to change up those drills every time. So like I said, that the guys aren't just going through the motions and they know, okay, well, we're doing a handling drill now, and this is what we're going to do, right? We're going to do some teamwork, and this is exactly what we're going to do, and we do it the same thing every single week. You might want to have 2 or 3, maybe even 4 variations of drills, right? So every week you can swap it around so that the guys don't get used to it. They get used to the structure of the warm-up, but we keep changing the elements. Like I said, the reason you want to keep changing it up is we want to keep things fresh. We don't want guys just going through the motions. So we have found in the past where if we've kept the warm-up the same, the elements the same for too long, that the guys just go through the motions, they completely just switch off. And especially in the game situation, you want the guys to stay focused, but if everything just becomes autopilot, they tend to drift off a little bit. So we want to make sure that mentally they're still switched on. Like I said, they know which elements are coming, but they're not. It's not always the same drill that we're going to do. So we still want to keep the mind going to that. They don't just switch off and just go through the motions. Then, like I said, we want to make things better. How do we do that? We ask players for feedback. So this, you could have your senior players. You can chat to them, get feedback, and also just the rest of the players too. In that way, firstly, well, you're getting feedback so you can make improvements, and secondly, you're getting the players involved so they feel that they've got some form of involvement or input within the training session as well. So that just gives them a sense of a bit of importance. Right, and then we just want to make sure that we keep tweaking. So you might decide, okay, well, I'm going to do this drill, right, and it is something that you want to do, but it didn't work out that well. So we'll do it next week again. But this is what I've learned from that drill, so I'm just going to tweak in this way so it runs a little bit more effectively. One word of advice: if you are going to be doing tweaking, do it in training sessions. Don't do it on match days, because if you decide on a match day to tweak something and it doesn't work, it can become a little bit of a shit show and the guys lose complete focus. So like I said, you want to keep tweaking things to make it better so that things run smoother, but you don't want to make those tweaks on a match day itself. Right, then your action items. So just to go through everything again, so we said firstly, when it comes to warm-ups, you want to know what your purpose is. Are we going to be making contact, non-contact? Is it a match? We're doing skill work, technical work, conditioning work, because our warm-up is going to be dependent on that. Like I said, generally if you're going to do just an easy session, I would say about 15 minutes is enough for a warm-up, okay? But then when it comes to match days, we're going to go a little bit longer. So like I said, we'll get all those elements within the match day warm-up, okay? And we're just varying the intensity of the elements, okay? The elements themselves, okay, we said you want to make sure you do some cardiovascular work to get the blood pumping, get the muscles supple. Then we want to go into our mobility work and flexibility work, and then we also want to make sure we're hitting some skill work and getting the guys thinking. The structure itself, we want to have, like I said, a basic structure so we know what's coming. Like I said, that's your individual stuff where they go and do that on their own, okay? We then get together as a team, we split up into pairs, go into groups, some unit stuff, and then back together as a team. Okay, so you want to make sure there's a structure, a general structure, and we said that structure, the general structure stays the same. The elements within the structure is what we can change and manipulate. Okay, and then the final thing is we always want to make sure that we're improving and making things better. We said we can change up the drills that we're doing, we can change the order that we're doing in, we can change the times that we're doing it, longer, shorter, we can change the intensities, and we always want to make sure that we're asking for feedback from the players. And like I said, the reason for that is we want to make sure that we know what's going on in their heads, what's working, what's not working. Right, so we want to get that feedback from the players so we can make things better, and also to get the players involved and make them feel a little bit more important that they're actually having an involvement in the planning of sessions. Right, so that's going to be it for today. Nice and simple. Hope you enjoyed this. I am going to give you the opportunity, if you want to work with me directly. Like I said, what I do is I help coaches set up coaching businesses. Okay, so whether that be physical businesses where you actually do physical coaching, whether it be online, or even better, a combination of the two, a hybrid, where we've got some online stuff that we're doing, and then also your physical coaching. So if you're interested in starting your own coaching business and making a bit of money, either part-time or full-time, feel free to send me an email. Just tell me that you're interested, and we can have a little chat and see whether we'd be a good fit together. Right, like I said, I also promised that you could get the slides, so all I want you to do, if you want a copy of the slides, so you can make, like I said, you can put in a folder, so you can make it yourself a little coaching folder, and also make some notes in it. So if you want the actual slides themselves, then again, I just want you to send me an email to jason@rugbyfit.co, and then you just ask me if you can get the slides, and I'll shoot you over the slides. All right, like I said, this will be video 1 of our little educational series. Let me know underneath the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, if you enjoyed it, whether it was crap, and also, I've got some ideas of what I'm obviously going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. But if you got anything in mind that you want me to cover, or even within one of these videos, if there's something you want me to elaborate on, let me know. Right, just underneath the video. And then, yeah, that's it for today. And then I will see you next week.